The rain had just begun to fall when Margaret Vale, 63 years old, stepped out of her black limousine. The city lights of London shimmered through the mist like fading promises, and she caught her reflection in the wet pavement, elegant, poised, but tired. Once the world had admired her, a self-made millionaire, owner of Vale Enterprises, the queen of real estate and charity balls. But now, her mansion echoed too loudly. Her success felt like dust. Inside the grand ballroom of the Hilton, laughter and music swirled like ghosts of a life she no longer knew how to live. Her friends had grown gray, her lovers had vanished into marriages, and her heart, once a storm, had gone still. That was until Lena Hart, 29, walked in. Margaret noticed her instantly. The young woman was late, soaked from the rain, her hair clinging to her cheeks. She wore a plain black dress, nothing like the sequined socialites around them, but her presence cut through the crowd like a spark in the dark. Lena was there as a freelance journalist, sent to cover the gala's theme, Love Beyond Time. Margaret smirked when she saw her fumbling with her notepad, awkward yet radiant. "You look lost," she said, offering her a glass of champagne. Lena laughed nervously. "I usually write about real people, not legends." "Legends?" Margaret arched an eyebrow. "You," Lena said, cheeks coloring. "Margaret Vale. The woman who built an empire but still claims she's retired." Margaret's lips curved into a smile she hadn't felt in years. "Maybe I was waiting for a reason not to." That night, they talked until the ballroom emptied. When Lena asked if Margaret believed in love at her age, the millionaire looked out the window, at the endless rain, and said softly, "Love doesn't know age. People just forget how to listen for it." And as Lena smiled, something in Margaret's heart began to thaw. Lena visited Margaret a week later for an exclusive interview. Or so she claimed. Truthfully, she just wanted to see her again. Margaret lived in a mansion on the edge of the Thames, all marble and quiet gardens, the kind of place that felt untouched by time. Margaret greeted her in soft cashmere, holding 2 mugs of cocoa instead of champagne. "I don't drink before sunset," she teased. The interview began with polite questions, about her company, her charities, her retirement, but soon drifted into stories about Margaret's youth, her travels, and her first love, a woman she'd never had the courage to fight for. Lena listened, completely enthralled. "You never married?" Lena asked. Margaret's gaze lingered on the river outside. "No. I tried to love people who fit society's picture of me. But you can't lie to your soul forever." Lena felt something stir inside her, admiration, longing, maybe even recognition. "And now?" Margaret looked at her, her voice low. "Now I paint, I walk, I feed stray cats, and I wonder if love will ever find me again before I fade." The words hung between them like a confession. Lena wanted to reach out, to touch her hand, to say that love didn't fade, it waited. But she didn't dare. When she finally left, the rain had stopped, and Margaret stood at the door watching her go, her heart beating in ways it hadn't for decades. In her journal that night, Lena wrote, "She's twice my age, yet when she speaks, I feel 16 again. Maybe love isn't about time. Maybe it's about recognition." And Margaret, alone in her study, whispered into the dark. "Too old for love? Perhaps. But too lonely to stop hoping." Their meetings became routine, an interview series, they told themselves. But it wasn't journalism anymore. It was connection. They took walks through Margaret's gardens, talked about poetry, music, the ache of loneliness. Lena began to see past the glamorous facade, Margaret's unspoken fears, her fading health, the sadness she hid behind grace. One evening, as autumn painted the world gold, Lena brought her camera. I want to capture you, she said softly. Not the millionaire. You. Margaret hesitated. I don't think I'm beautiful enough anymore to be captured. Lena smiled, raising the lens. You've never stopped being beautiful, Margaret. You just stopped believing it. The older woman felt her breath catch. When Lena's fingers brushed her cheek, she didn't pull away. The silence between them deepened, intimate and trembling. Later that night, Lena uploaded the photo, Margaret by the window, light and shadow dancing across her face, and couldn't stop staring. She looked alive again. Fierce, but fragile. Margaret saw it too. You've made me look like someone who still believes in love, she wrote in a message. Lena replied, maybe you should. That night, Margaret couldn't sleep. Every word, every smile from Lena lingered in her chest. She was terrified, of wanting again, of being judged, of breaking her heart at 63. But when she closed her eyes, all she saw was Lena, and for the first time in years, she didn't feel old at all. By winter, rumors began to swirl. Margaret's old friends whispered, she's seeing a young journalist. Her business partners warned her, this could ruin your image. But Margaret didn't care. She had spent her life pleasing others. Now, she just wanted to feel alive. One night, during a charity dinner, Lena arrived unexpectedly, radiant in a red dress. Margaret's eyes widened, she had never looked more breathtaking. As the night wore on, people stared, murmured, judged, but when Margaret offered her hand for a dance, Lena didn't hesitate. They danced slowly, like time itself had stopped. And when Lena leaned closer, whispering, they're all watching, Margaret only smiled. Then let them learn what love looks like. For the first time, the world saw the woman who refused to let go of her heart, no matter what it cost. After the event, they escaped to the terrace, snow beginning to fall. Lena shivered, and Margaret draped her coat over her shoulders. You'll catch a cold, she murmured. Lena turned to her, eyes gleaming. You're always taking care of everyone else. When will you let someone take care of you? Before Margaret could answer, Lena kissed her. It was soft. Hesitant. Yet in that single kiss was a lifetime of longing, all the years Margaret had been told she was too old, too late, too unworthy of love. But love didn't listen. It simply was. Love, however, never comes without a cost. A week later, tabloids splashed their photos across headlines, Millionaire Margaret Vale and her young lover, scandal or true love? The world was unkind. Investors pulled out, friends vanished, and even Lena's editor threatened to fire her. Margaret begged Lena to step back. You have your life ahead of you. Don't ruin it for me. Lena's voice broke. You think I care about the world more than you? This isn't fair to you, Margaret whispered. I can't give you youth or adventure. Only memories. Stop, Lena said sharply. You are everything I never knew I needed. But Margaret couldn't bear to destroy Lena's future. She ended it quietly, no fights, no tears, just a letter. You deserve sunlight, not shadows like me. Lena cried for days. Margaret, meanwhile, returned to her solitude, pretending the silence didn't crush her. But love, once awakened, doesn't die easily. Margaret fell ill weeks later, a mild heart episode, the doctors said. She refused visitors. But one night, as rain lashed against her windows, the doorbell rang. It was Lena. She stood there, soaked and trembling, her eyes full of fire. You don't get to decide for both of us, she said. You don't get to love me and then disappear. Margaret, weak but smiling, whispered, you're stubborn. Only when it matters, Lena said, wrapping her arms around her. You're my home, Margaret. Don't you dare let go. Spring came softly that year. Margaret recovered, slowly. She sold half her empire, started an art foundation, and spent her mornings painting beside Lena, who had moved into the old mansion by the Thames. The tabloids lost interest, love stories rarely survive the news cycle, but their love did. Sometimes, Margaret would catch Lena looking at her with that same awe from their first night. What do you see when you look at me? She asked once. Lena smiled. The woman who proved love isn't about years, it's about courage. They traveled, Venice, Paris, Santorini, holding hands, collecting moments instead of headlines. Age became meaningless. Margaret still had her wrinkles, her silver hair, her gentle slowness, but with Lena, she felt immortal. On her 65th birthday, Lena surprised her with a painting, Margaret, standing in the rain, looking alive. The title read, Refused to Let Go. Tears filled Margaret's eyes. You've made me believe again. Lena leaned close, whispering, You never stopped believing. You just needed someone to remind you. Years later, when people asked Lena about their story, she would always say, she was too old for their idea of love. But never too old for love itself. And Margaret, whenever she looked at Lena, would smile and whisper, Some hearts are timeless.